One thing that is always in chaos with my junk journaling supplies is my collage papers, and so today I wanted to do a bit of organising and prep for the February collage challenge that I'm going to try. So there's a Februllage challenge that happens over on Instagram. I'll pop the prompts up on the screen. So there's a prompt for each day of February, so there's 28 different prompts, and so I wanted to have a go at maybe dipping in and out of some of those prompts. And in order to do that, I wanted to be a little bit prepared and sort of organise myself in terms of collage materials. So as you can see, I've got a little box here that I'll show you in a minute. I've got some magazines that I'm going to be going through to pick out some collage bits as well. So I'll sort of show you the process of the things that I look for and things like that. And you may also have noticed that I have this little pamphlet underneath my journal. So when I was looking for some secondhand books and magazines and things to use as collage materials, I'm not even kidding, I pulled a book off the shelf and this little booklet just sort of like fell. It must have been sort of like tucked behind it and fell onto the floor, and I just looked at it and I thought, okay, well, it's very like unassuming and obviously not like hugely interesting inside, but the thing that drew me to it was that it's obviously like a nice little thin booklet, and also it has exactly 28 pages numbered on it. So I thought that this was perfect because obviously the challenge has 28 prompts, and so there will be one page that I can do for each of the prompts. And then there'll be a few obviously spare at the front here. Maybe I could do some like warm-ups or things, but yeah, there's 28 pages in this book. What I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to trim this down a little bit because, as you know, if you've seen some of my other videos, my golden rule this year is that any like extra little inserts or things I'm doing with my junk journals with extra projects, it has to fit in this journal. So in here I've already got 3 inserts on the go, and so I thought that this could slip in here quite nicely, just in one of these little sections here. This way then it just contains all of the collage things in terms of the prompts. So I'm going to cut this down probably on the top, the bottom, and then I'll need to make it a little bit narrower as well. And so what I'm going to do is just use one of the inserts that I already have in this journal just as a rough guide for how much I need to trim these pages. So I'm just going to roughly mark out here with a pencil where I need to trim the edges of this book to, so you can see we'll go for about there. Okay, so I've trimmed this down, as you can see, to be the same size as a standard TN insert. Now this was a little trickier than I thought it was going to be and very fiddly, and I have lots of these like little shaved pieces here because I couldn't get my edges straight, but luckily I managed it, and through the joy of editing you won't have to suffer like I did through getting this to be trimmed down. But as you can see, this is now the right size for my journal, so I will just pop it back in here. But as I was trimming the booklet there, just to get it to be the right size for what I wanted it to be for this project, as I said, all of those little bits were coming off here, but one piece that came off at the top here was this little phrase that says, "It certainly does not seem as interesting at first sight," and I just thought I'd save that, put that to one side for this collage project, because I think that is perfect and a really nice little sentiment for something like collage, where you are looking at things that might not be as interesting at first sight and sort of putting them together into a collage. So I just thought it was really nice that that kind of popped out amongst all of these papers that I now have to one side. But yeah, as you can see, this is the right size to go into this journal, so I'm just going to pop it here. So let's find roughly where the center is, and as you can see, I still need to put in some pages into this journal here, but it still all fits nicely within my journal, as I said at the start of the year, so I'm still going strong on that. So as I said, with my collage papers, I wanted to be organized for this project and have everything in one place. So this is something I've done for previous like junk journal challenges, where I've tried to keep everything in one place, and I think this is going to be really helpful for the collaging as well. So I've actually got two little sections within here. So the first thing I have in here is just some like larger pieces and papers that I've already sort of torn out of the books ready. So one thing I didn't want to be doing was sort of rifling through all of my books and magazines and things each day, or when I'm looking at what to do for a prompt. So I decided to kind of take things out already, and so I've just got like a mix of different things here. So whether it's imagery or like even things that I'm just going to use like the textures and the colors from, because the prompt list has got quite a variety of prompts. Some of them are a little bit out of the box, I guess, and so I think it'll be interesting to see how I'm able to stick with the collage and the style that I normally do within my junk journals, but apply the prompt and sort of you know, not go too far from what I normally do, but still force myself a little bit to experiment with different imagery or just creating collages that I might not otherwise create in my journals, because I want to have this collage booklet be almost purely collage. There might be the odd little bits of other things here and there, but because this is a collage challenge, I am obviously going to be focusing on using different papers. So even on these pieces here where I've pulled out the entire image here, I'm not looking at this and thinking, okay, I'm going to pull out like the actual image. I'm just thinking about the colors. So something like this, where I can use this as like part of a background or something. So a lot of the things here you'll see I've pulled out like this just because they've got some nice sort of coloured backgrounds with the skies that I can sort of pull sections from and use like small bits of colours. There's a lot of yellow here, as you can see. There must have been a prompt I had in mind when I was pulling out these papers. And I've also got a few little scrapbook pieces as well, just in case I wanted to use some of those. But like I said, I'm trying to keep everything all contained within one place and have everything in this little box. So I've got the larger pieces there at the bottom to use, and then I've also got this other smaller box. Now this does have a lid that I can put on it and just have it as one little piece here, but I wanted to make sure that I had somewhere separate to put some smaller pieces, and I figured I could just leave it tucked like this and have it inside, because obviously I'm not going to be like turning the box upside down and shaking it and everything. Like I'm just going to sort of have this and I can sort of put it in there and take it out. And then, to be fair, it's probably going to be really handy actually to have something like this, because what I could probably do is use this and have it on the side and just put all of the like paper scraps, so you know when you're cutting things, and you can just put them all in one place, because I swear that's the only thing with collage is I can make such a mess with all of the papers. And so actually having that might be really handy just in terms of keeping myself a little bit organized with things. So I've just got this little box within here. So I have these little slides here, which I'm kind of tempted to do some like mini collages with. And then I did also pull out a few different sort of words and phrases that I thought might be nice to use throughout the collages, because one thing that I like to use in my collages a lot of the times are like words and sort of snippets taken from books and things. So I've just pulled out a bunch of different words and phrases. Some of them a bit more random than others, like something like this obviously I've got in mind for maybe like the first page, given that it says introduction, but I've tried to just pull out from different places so that I've got some different fonts and things to use and just to have on hand ready, so I don't need to go sort of rifling through different books and things like that. And I've even got a piece here that says February, because I thought that would be perfect for using on the cover itself. And I do also have this just because it was a pair of scissors, and I put it in here to remind myself, because I thought that having those cut out and put on the cover could be quite fun, just because obviously it's a collage challenge, and so scissors fits the theme quite well. So this is my box in terms of collage papers that I want to use specifically in this challenge, just so I can sort of pull it out and have it ready to go to use within this journal. So what I wanted to do was just to go through a couple of these magazines that I picked up secondhand and just have some images and things ready to use. There's things like letters that are really good, so this is like probably a junk journal thing anyway, but just to have the fonts is always really cool. So letters like this, so I'll probably pull out bolder letters, and then I can use them as the sort of ransom letter style, spelling something out potentially for the prompts. So I just thought that these would be cool. And again, having things already like pre-cut out, ready to use within a challenge like this, I think will be really helpful, because then I'm not having to like look through everything each day to find potentially like what I want to use. And you can probably tell from the glare that you're getting from the magazine that this is obviously a shiny surface, and so I'm probably going to need my gel matte medium on hand when I'm using some of these, just to obviously make them a little bit more matte, and so I don't have that shiny surface. My preference is to have more of a matte look to my collages and the things that I'm working on. And of course you always have to be careful of what's on the other side of the page as well before you start cutting out different things. So the thing that I'm looking at on this piece here is not the things that's in the frames, but the frames themselves, because I think they could be potentially really nice to use as compositional pieces. So I could cut out the center of the frame and then just use the frame and put something else in the middle of the frame. So as I was saying earlier, there's a prompt for each day of February for this challenge, and what I'll probably do is maybe share weekly updates perhaps of what I've been creating for each of the prompts. If you're interested in seeing what I'm doing for these different collages, and I can sort of show you the different things that I've done for each of the prompts, because the prompt list is very varied and almost a little bit out of my comfort zone, I want to say. And so I was sort of brainstorming about how I would approach the prompts in a way that kind of, you know, didn't completely ignore what the prompts are, but that still felt a little bit like me. So I have kind of jotted down a little bit of a list of sort of the ways that I might interpret some of these prompts. And I just found that helpful to have as a little bit of a steer then for what I'll be creating. So I am really looking forward to doing something that's a little bit more focused on collage for this. And I know I'm putting my little frames here in my words and phrases box, but they're quite small and I don't want them to get lost. And even little pieces like this I think are really good just for some pattern and some texture potentially. So this is just like a little edge of a sofa, but I just think that this might come in handy for something, you know, maybe even one of these frames. I don't think it's quite the right size, but do you see what I mean? Something like that where you can sort of join the two things together. I'm wondering if frames might become a bit of a key part of this collage series, just because I seem to be cutting out quite a few of them here. So as you can see, I've just taken out the center of this here. So again, I could potentially put something behind that. Okay, so those are some bits that I got from the magazines that I've put aside in the collage box, and I definitely got more in terms of sort of words and phrases and text that I can use. What I'm going to do now is decorate the cover, so I want to sort of collage on top of this but still keep the base, so I don't want to like cover up the whole thing, but I want to work with it similar to how I've done this, where I've collaged on top of it but I haven't covered up completely. So I'm going to use some of these bits that I have taken from the magazines and that I have in this collage box here and decorate the front cover of this insert ready for the month. So I think I'm going to leave the cover quite simple and just have this with the scissors here that looks like it is cutting out the image to kind of get at that collage theme. I'm a little bit undecided whether to pop this February text here just because it's quite stark in comparison to everything else that's going on here. So let me know what you think, if I should include this as a little label at the top there, or should I just leave it plain as is. I'm probably going to round the corners of this insert as well. I think that would really help to finish it off, but that is my insert ready for the Februllage prompts. I hope you enjoyed joining me for this collage video, and I will see you in the next one.